Hello and welcome to my fourth installment of my training series. I am Day. I am the flight trainer for the 110 Deadpool Corp. Um, I've got a lot of uh, requests for me to go ahead and put in a video for aiming. So this week I'm going to do a little short video about how to aim better, ways you can fine tune your aiming in the game. And forgive me, I'm a little sick, so if my voice is kind of rough, I apologize. So this video is going to be basically set up for mouse and keyboard. I apologize, I don't really use dual joysticks or the HOTAS setups. I prefer the mouse and keyboard. I've tried dual joysticks, I've tried HOTAS, and I just prefer the mouse and keyboard overall. But so while we're on that subject, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about my views on the excuse me, on the mouse and keyboard versus the joystick and HOTAS setups. So a lot of people say joysticks, dual joysticks, HOTAS setups are better than mouse and keyboard. I have to disagree. I don't think any setup is better than the other. I think mouse and keyboard can compete just as well with joysticks, and I think joysticks can compete just as well with mouse and keyboards. Um, I am ranked fairly high on the leaderboards. Battle Royale, and I'm ranked in the somewhere in the top 100 on Battle Royale, and I'm ranked in the top 50, actually in the top 30 on, or I was, unless I got bumped down. But I am ranked high in Battle Royale and Squadron Battles, so I do have experience. I do know what I'm doing. I can compete with the best of the best. And I've seen the top guys that I know of are generally Renegade Squadron. I'm sure all of you have heard about them by now. But there are two guys usually in the top one and two spots. It's Kronos, and I think the guy's name is Malagos. Well, I believe Kronos because I faced him quite a few times. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty solid, and I haven't really talked to him a whole lot in person, but I'm pretty sure he uses dual joysticks or a HOTAS setup. He just has really good maneuvering with the ship. He can make a lot of really hard turns that you can't really do with a mouse and keyboard, and he's ranked number one, which, think joysticks, he's ranked number one, they're better. Malagos, I know, uses mouse and keyboard. He's ranked number two. And if you just go by the ranks, you'll think, okay, well, joysticks are better. When I say you look at the leaderboards, you have to really look at them. You got to look at the stats. And from what I've seen last time I looked, Malagos had better stats. To me, it looked like he had a better kill death ratio. He had more damage over time. He pulled out more damage per minute. Um, and he had about the same kill death ratio as deaths is what Kronos had, but he did have more kills than what Kronos had by quite a bit. So to me, he should be ranked number one. But for some reason, I don't know exactly what stats they really focus on to rank you in the leaderboards, but he was ranked number two. So you got the one and two slots are each using different setups. To me, is what it looks like. So to me, it doesn't matter what setup you use. I think each setup is just as good as the next. So anybody that tells you that joysticks are better, I disagree with that. I think whichever way you feel comfortable with is a way you should go. And whichever way you're comfortable with, stick with it because you'll eventually get better and better at it and it'll become a lot easier. So since I usually deal with mouse and keyboard, I'm using gimbals. For a long time, I didn't use gimbals and I was locking all my gimbals because I like to have the heavier weapons doing more damage, things like that. And I got pretty decent at it, but I hit a wall and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. And I was thought about, hey, joysticks are better, blah, blah, blah. Joysticks are better with locked gimbals. They're better with non-gimbal mounts, so you're using bigger guns. Right now, the Panthers are the best size 3 guns you can get, which you can get that on the Electronic Access Store. Panthers will rip a hole through anybody extremely fast, and you don't have to saturate them as long as you do with any size 2 guns. So but you have to maneuver your ship. Um, like if you're in a Saber and you have 4 Panther repeaters, which is a very popular build, you have to maneuver your ship to aim with your nose of your ship, your aim sights on your nose. So that it gets a little bit harder with a mouse and keyboard to do something like that, because you have to actually use your strafing, your yawing, and your pitching to be able to position your nose to the pip that you want to be able to hit them. So it's a little bit easier with joysticks because you have the analog and you can control how much you strafe to the left or how much you strafe to the right. With mouse and keyboard, you're either at 0% strafing or 100% strafing. So that's the downside. But with gimbals, using gimbals and mouse and keyboard, um, you should have perfect accuracy, and I'm going to help you guys, the mouse and keyboard users, to improve that a little bit today. But if a joystick user is using the gimbal mounts, it's a little bit harder for them because they don't have the flat surface fixed on. They're actually moving with that 3-dimensional space, and we're only using basically a 2-dimensional space because the mouse is sitting on a pad and you're just moving the mouse. Which makes the mouse accuracy much better with the gimbal mounts, but you have to saturate the targets longer. Now, that's really the difference between joystick users and mouse users. If a joystick user doesn't have to saturate a target longer, but it's harder to hit a target with a joystick. Some people may say, no, it's really not that hard. Well, what I mean by hitting a target, it's not that hard to hit a target with some practice. It's very easy. What I'm talking about is saturating a target long enough. Now, when I saturate a target, or when I aim at a target, I miss maybe 5-6% of my shots over a period of 1 minute. So if I'm on you, I'm very rarely missing. Like I'm just nailing you, nailing you, nailing you, saturating you. You can, you know, try and maneuver to miss as much as my shots as possible, but it's going to be very difficult because I'm using gimbal mounts. I can follow you and use some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. But for now, let's go over my options on how I have my control scheme set up. It's not much different from the normal control scheme. I don't have anything for my mouse. I don't use any inversion settings. So I basically have everything as a no, as you can see here. Now, my mouse sensitivity curves, I don't really mess with a whole lot until I get down to the flight pitch and flight yaw. Don't get this mixed up with the on-foot yaw or pitch. I keep those at the base settings, which is a 1. But on the flight pitch and yaw, I do set it to a 1.1. Now, some people will like to set it at a 1.6. It's really your preference. 1.1 is just my personal preference. It's not too much that I overshoot my target, so I can, keep everything nice and smooth. Whenever you're aiming, you want to have a nice and smooth aim. You don't want to be jumping all over the place. And we're going to go over some settings here in this match. I'm going to do a Vandal Swarm match and kind of go over it. Didn't mean to go on that. So, going to come into the Arena Commander and wait for this all to load up. I'm going to go into Drone Sim and Vandal Swarm. Now, in this, I'm going to use the Anvil Hornet, the F7C Super Hornet. It's one of my favorite ships. Should also be fitted out. I did not go check to see if it's fitted out, so it should be. I left it like that. But you know how this game is sometimes. So in Vandal Swarm, I'm going to kind of show you what I do. First thing I do when I get to a match, I check 2 things. I'm going to check that I have my lead pips. I do not use lag pips. I have learned that lag pips are mainly used to target, let's say, a certain part of their ship. So if you're using lag pit and let's say you want to blow off their engines, you'll use lag pips. That's the only thing I could really see it useful for, but I use the lead pips over anything. The other thing we want to check is your look ahead mode. Now if you look at this horizon on this planet, and I'm shaking my mouse, you see how kind of like my ship is bouncing up and down? My center reticle is bouncing up and down. So when it's doing that, your look ahead mode is not active. When I'm trying to aim at somebody and my ship is bouncing like this, my thrusters are trying to counter-react to move where I'm putting the input. So if I'm yawing and pitching at the same time or doing very quick movements, it's bouncing my ship, and that's really throwing off my aim quite a bit. So I'm going to activate look ahead mode. Right Alt M activates look ahead mode, and see this. I'm going to activate it, and you're going to see a big difference. So I'm shaking it. It's not active right now, and then I activate it, and you see it's smoothed out. It's not bouncing like it was. Unactive, it's bouncing. Active, it's a lot smoother. This basically allows your mouse cursor to be able to reach further across the screen to be able to hit the target, and it doesn't. It's like your computer system on the ship itself is really really tries to smooth that out for you, so it's not bouncing. So that's really important to have. I constantly use look ahead mode. I don't really ever turn it off. I do use strafe. Now when you're aiming, obviously using the lead reticle aim, you want to try to keep the dot in your circle as centered as possible in the lead pip circle. So my guns are a little off. I had it set to having all size 2, I believe they're Badgers, but it continues. It just kind of glitches, and it gives me a M4A laser, which is a size 2 gun as well, which isn't what I want. But both guns do have pretty close to the same same velocity, so it kind of works out. Now you see here, he's about 800-900 meters away. When you're using or when you're dogfighting, you always want to be in something called a CPA, which is your closest point of approach. Now, your closest point of approach is generally 400 to 800 meters away. So you want to be as close as possible, because the closer you are, you don't have to be perfectly on with that little circle in the lead pip. You see what I mean? Like, if I'm really close to a target, like if they're about that far, I can be a little off and not perfectly on, and I'm still hitting the target, because it's all about saturating a target. This guy, he's a little bit further away. I have to be closer to that little dot in his circle to match up with the little dot in my circle to be able to hit that target. So the closer I am, the less accurate I have to be, and I can still saturate that target as long as my dot is generally somewhere in that lead pip circle. Depending on the guns you use, it'll be different lead pip. With the Badgers, it's just a square. With the Panthers, or with having a M4A laser and a Badger repeater on, it actually makes it into a circle. So depending on your gun scheme, it'll actually change that lead pip. So you just want to try and get that little dot in your mouse circle to match up with that little that tiny dot in the lead pip circle. And that's, if you can keep that in there, you know, you're going to saturate the target longer, you're going to hit the target, and it's going to work out a lot better with you than using lag pips. The other important thing about aiming, is knowing the target's flight path. So when you're looking at a target, you want to know their flight path. So this guy, he's moving kind of in the upper right hand corner of my screen. So when I realize that and I recognize that, I know that that's his flight path. That's his flight path he's taking in congruent to me. So I know that that's in kind of the direction I need to follow with my mouse cursor. So you always want to judge where they're going. So it's actually a little bit easier to hit the targets if you're knowing where they're going, instead of just guessing, are they going to go left, right, up, or down, and that just throws you off. So once you know the flight path, which is very easy, because as you can see, he's flying up, and he's kind of doing, he's going to kind of circle around. He's making a turn, so I know that I need to kind of follow that flight path with my mouse cursor. Your lead pip will show you their flight path. So this guy, it's kind of in front of him, it's kind of to the right. He's actually stopped, so I can just kind of follow that and hit the target and keep saturating the target. That's the most important thing with using your gimbal locks. You need to understand where their flight path is to be able to hit them, and that's basically it. So just keep in mind, it's you want to have look ahead mode to smooth out your mouse cursor so you're not jumbling all around. You want to use your lead pips, and you want to judge their flight path and keep that circle in that circle, your little dot and their little dot, to be able to hit them, and you'll be able to kill them. The longer you saturate them, the more damage they take. Also remember that projectiles do have decay over time, so if I'm hitting him from this distance, I'm not doing as much damage than when I'm really close. As you noticed, I hit some Vandal Swarm earlier, and the closer I am, the more damage you do. So the further you are away from them, the less damage you do, because they have decay on the projectiles, so they do less damage over a longer distance. That's why the CPA is so important. It's the closest point of approach. You want to be 8 to 400 meters away. I know on weapons you'll see that, oh well, the best, it'll say you want to be at least within range of 2,000. In dogfighting, trust me, you want to be as close as you can, because you're going to the closer they are to you, the less you're going to miss, the more damage you're going to do, and I didn't mean to hit that, but anyway, yeah, the less damage you do, and so you want to be as close as you can, because you'll just do more damage, and you want to saturate the target. In PvP, a lot of times whoever wins the fight is whoever is doing the most damage. So just remember, in the other videos we did a lot of maneuvers to be able to avoid damage. So keep that in mind. Don't just focus on aiming. You need to add both those in congruence with aiming. Just try your best not to aim. Try your best not to miss a shot. If you are missing a shot, do not just lay on your guns. Have some. You got to have some discipline when firing, because if you're sitting there hitting people and you're not hitting anybody and you're just firing, I'm gonna overheat my guns if I'm just missing all the time. And by the time you do need it, it's not gonna be there, and you're gonna lose a kill, and you're not gonna get the kill, and then you're probably gonna be killed yourself. But I'm not really dodging any fire. I usually do a lot better than this. I can go in this solo this pretty easily without dying or taking any damage. But you kind of see I stopped firing whenever he pulled out of my range, and I'm back on him, and he's dead. Just like that. It's just saturation of the target. If you're hitting some and you're not doing something like this, and you're hitting them a few times, but you're not keeping that saturation on them, then you're not. It's going to be really hard for you to kill anybody. So you want to keep that constant damage, and they'll die a lot quicker. And quit firing, saturating. I'm not within the CPA, so I was in the CPA. I was just missing. But that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tune in next week for my next video, and fly safe.